Ready for a buzzworthy story? Welcome back to Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. In this episode, we're taking you to Parker, Colorado, and the Frangiosa Farms, home to an online program that allows anyone to adopt a honeybee. Joining us is Nick French, beekeeper and owner of the farms. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Fred. How are you?
Terrific. Well, it has been more than 10 years, I think, since you started the Adopt-A-Bee program there at the farm. How and why did this come about?
Well, when I started beekeeping, I've been beekeeping now about 15 years. Um, it was a steep learning curve to get into it. I ended up knocking on a neighbor's door, asking him if he needed any help, and I ended up working with him throughout the summer. Spent 2-3 days a week working with him. At the end of the summer, we harvested about 800 pounds of honey off of about a dozen hives, and he decided he was going to retire. This guy, he'd been beekeeping for about 30 plus years and was done. And I just looked at it like, this is too much. I don't know enough about beekeeping. I've only done this for a summer. And he said, look, you can do this. You know the techniques, how to work with the hives and the bees. He said, you can do this. And so I kind of, mustered up the courage to get into the bees and really kind of immerse myself. And I realized that, I loved working with the bees, but there is a challenge, for everyone out there that wants to do beekeeping. You have to overcome the obstacle of, well, there's a financial cost. You have to buy the equipment. You have to have the space. You have to be able to dedicate time each week. You have to get ready for winter, as we're doing now. Then you have to get ready for spring, and then you're maintaining. So it takes a lot. And I thought, well, how do we get more people involved in the beekeeping that maybe, they don't have the time, space, or energy, or maybe they're allergic, but still can appreciate the value that pollinators bring to food production and in our lives. And I thought, well, let's do a kind of a donation or an Adopt-A-Bee program where people can contribute to healthy bee colonies, establishing new colonies here in Colorado, without having to do it themselves. And that's how the Adopt-A-Honeybee program was born.
And you've taken it online for people these days too.
Yeah, it was really, it was kind of like, I don't want to say a joke. It was sort of like, I'm just going to throw this out there online and see what happens. And I created the first website. We put the program out there, and all of a sudden people started to sign up for it. And they were making these donations, and we would, in turn for their donation, they would get a jar of honey and a certificate that says they're helping to maintain healthy bee colonies in Colorado. And it started to become a thing, and people were contacting me about it. Some schools in the area would raise money for bees, and those donations and the money we were bringing in for that not only helped me buy equipment to set up new colonies, but it also enabled me to go to schools to talk to kids. Pre-COVID, I used to talk to about 250 kids every year between the ages of 8 and about 14 about the plight of the pollinators. And so it was a kind of also an outreach program built into it.
That's terrific. And of course, kids have a natural curiosity about these kinds of things that sometimes we wish more grown-ups had. So
kids get it. Kids get when I talk to kids about birds, bats, bees, and butterflies and how important they are for food production, the kids just get it right away. No questions. They know, and they're all in right from the beginning.
Many of us have heard about the various health and environmental issues facing honeybees and the plight, as you put it. What are conditions for them like now? What can you tell us?
It's definitely still a struggle. From when I started beekeeping until now, there's definitely been this like an uprising of interest in backyard beekeeping. More people are interested. Because when I started 15 years ago, and I would go to farmers markets selling honey, And people would say, look at me like I was crazy. They say, bees are dying. There's a problem with bees and pollination. I'd say, oh yeah, there are many factors affecting them. The last couple years, we have been struggling. It's been very difficult for bees in Colorado. Locally, drought, lack of forage, competition with other insects. Like we've had a plague of grasshoppers in Parker and in basically the South Denver area the last 2 years. And those grasshoppers are eating all the wonderful flowers that the bees like, clover, sages and all the different, flowers that bees really like here. But nationally and around the world, bees are battling with a lot of things. I mean, they're battling with loss of forage. And a lot of people blame GMO crops or chemicals, which are a problem. But really what's happening is, like when I was a kid, I grew up in Northwest Ohio. All of our farms had these beautiful borders around them. And it was wildflowers. It was just everything you could think of was growing along the wheat and the cornfields. As the genetically modified crops have come out and, we're using these broad spectrum herbicides, that spray drifts off to the side and kills off those borders. Those borders were a prime source of feed for bees. So that's happening. There's a couple mites that are affecting the bees themselves. There's a tracheal mite, gets in the bees' airways. And there's also the varroa mite. It's a great name. If you're going to be an insect that kills bees, your name is Varroa destructor. You're the destroyer mite. They pierce the exoskeleton of the bees, lets disease get in. They suck their blood out. They're really a horrible mite to battle with. And nowadays, like my mentor, when he started beekeeping, he didn't have to worry about these mites. Now, when I came in, I was kind of like this new age beekeeper, aware of mites and aware of, what's affecting bees. And he used to look at me and say, Nick, I don't know anything about mites. He's like, I don't know. We don't deal with them. And now most beekeepers just accept that your colonies have them. You just need to monitor what is the load, how many mites do your colonies have and how to treat them.
Really an ongoing battle. What's really fascinating, and I don't profess to know too much, but you talk about colonies. These are really little civilizations, aren't they? I mean, the social lives and the jobs that bees have.
Oh yeah.
Have you found that surprising since you got into it?
Yeah, I had no idea either. I thought there were male bees, female worker bees, and a queen, and there are, but then there are these other jobs. But they are probably the most highly organized, highly social, coordinated group of organisms on the earth. They, in the peak of summer, I can have a colony that could be larger than 65,000 bees. That's just one colony, one box that you see sitting out in the field. And they have all sorts of jobs. And this is what I love talking to people about, because you don't know it. I mean, and I put it in terms that people can understand. So there's heating and ventilation. There's HVAC bees. They're responsible for ventilating the hive, keeping it cool. They stand around and just flap their wings and control the temperature or the humidity. If too humid, they try and vent those hives. You have cleaning crews, the ones that are just cleaning up the hive day to day. You have mortician bees. So, when it's normally bees are dying out in the field, they don't make it back. In winter, you have more die-offs that happen inside of the colony. I would sit outside by my hives, right by the entrance. I call my mother, I'm talking to my mom on the phone, and I'm watching the bees pull out dead bees, take it to the edge of the hive, drop the dead bees off the edge of the hive, then go back inside for another. And then you see them to come back out again. They drop the dead bees off the end of the hive. And a lot of first-time beekeepers panic. You come out on a warm spring day, you look down at the entrance of the hive, and you're just like, oh no, look at all these dead bees. But in fact, it's a sign that it could be a very healthy hive, because a healthy hive has enough of these workers doing different jobs to help clean out the dead bees. If you don't have enough, if you're not a healthy colony, you don't have enough workers, then the dead bees just stay inside the colony.
Just amazing. Well, as you mentioned, it's autumn now. Soon the Colorado winter arrives. What happens to the bees?
Yeah, it's really fickle weather in Colorado right now. I mean, we're gonna be over 80 degrees today, and we're what? It's the 20th of October. It's pretty unusual. Bees this time of year are really sealing up all the cracks and gaps in their hive, winterizing. They're making sure they have enough winter stores of honey and pollen. My job really, I start to back off from what I do this time of year. I get to a time of year where beekeepers, we usually call it a no peak season, meaning you don't open the hives, you leave the bees do their own thing. But people are familiar with like penguins. Have you seen them on TV when penguins ball up into a big crowd, and the penguins on the outside rotate to the inside and the ones on the inside rotate to the outside? Bees do something very similar. They ball up around the queen, they make a cluster, and they can keep that center of that cluster where the queen is at. They can keep it 85, 90 degrees, even in the dead of winter when it's 20 degrees outside.
Wow. What's the lifespan of a bee? Assuming the mites, they survive all of that.
Yeah, if you get rid, barring disease, in the summer, bees are living 6 weeks, to a couple months. A lot of times, you'll see reports where it'll say lifespan of a bee in the summer might be 3 weeks. It depends how hard they're working. They literally work themselves to death. I've seen bees at the end of the season that are at the end of their lives, and their wings are tattered and torn. They have put thousands of miles on those wings, whereas the brand new wings have nice clean edges. But it's a struggle during the summer. During the winter, sometimes they'll live a little bit longer because they're not working so hard.
So over the course of a year, you have quite a few generations.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get to a point in the summer where a queen bee, can lay 2,000 eggs a day, very easily. And so you're getting a ramp up in the spring where you're having 2,000 eggs, hatching every day. And so the hives grow exponentially over a period of a few weeks. This time of year, they whittle down their numbers to a very small group, just enough to keep the queen alive and warm, do the basic maintenance. And it's really about preparing to get that queen through to the next year.
And you specialize in certain types of honey that people can find online. Tell us more about what you do there.
Yeah. Raw honey and wildflower honey is great on its own. At frangiosafarms.com, you can see a lot of different types of honey we do. We often like to joke around, but it's kind of meaning it seriously. We like to make honey better. Honey is such a great carrier and a great preservative for different types of things. Some of our ancestors used to preserve peaches and pears in honey. And even beyond that, the Egyptians used to preserve bodies in honey. So it's a great preservative. We like to add other beneficial botanicals or mushroom extracts. We'll add a turmeric or elderberry to help build the immune system. And what's been very popular now is lion's mane mushroom extracts in honey, and then also reishi. Sometimes mushrooms can be a bit bitter, and so the sweetness from the honey helps to balance that. But you end up with a super food, because the honey is a great superfood on its own.
Just terrific. That mushroom honey sounds great. And there's a kind of a separate business with the hemp honey as well.
Yeah, the hemp honey was started off in 2015 when the hemp farming became legal in Colorado again. I ended up putting about 20 hives on 70 acres of industrial hemp just north of Denver as a pollination service. And then I started to learn about CBD and different beneficial properties that were coming from hemp. A lot of people don't know that, hemp is the cousin of marijuana, but it doesn't have the psychoactive properties that you get from THC. There's other beneficial properties that come from it, but those products really tasted kind of really horrible. And so I thought, well, I have a honey that tastes so good, and we have this other thing, this oil from hemp that has beneficial properties. Let's put them together and make another superfood. And ColoradoHempHoney.com has like a wide variety of those products to help people with pain, sleep, anxiety, inflammation, lots of different reasons people would take it.
Terrific. And what can you tell us about the numbers of people involved with the Adopt a Bee program today?
Well, I can tell you that we have set up, and let me get my numbers right here. It's been a while. From the time we started doing this, we've estimated we've saved at least 2 million bees, either through rescuing them from being inside of a home or garages or on fence posts. We've captured them, set up new colonies. We've also created about 150 new colonies of bees just through the donations. And, a lot of that offsets losses. Every year, I plan on a 25% loss of all my bees, whether it's from mites or not enough forage for them. And so we have a lot of people across the country are doing it either for themselves, or they're offering it as gifts for somebody who might love bees, might love honey, not been involved in it, and then they'll gift an adoption certificate to their Aunt Chris or their cousin or someone, or grandfather or father, and then they get a little bit of honey from that hive and also a certificate that shows they're helping out.
So for people who want to do that, where's the best place for them to go, Nick?
Best place to go would be FrangiosaFarms.com. I don't know if you can post the spelling, but it's FRANGIOSA Farms, plural.com. And the program's detailed there. And it's a great place to help out.
Well, congratulations on what you're doing there, Nick. Again, it's FrangiosaFarms.com. Nick French, thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.